The bruise on Clara's cheek was the kind no woman should ever have to carry. It was swollen and purple, shaped clearly like fingers. She had tried to hide it. With her bonnet pulled low, her face turned just enough so no one would look too close. But nothing could hide it from Silas Barrett. The moment he saw that mark, the world around him seemed to stop. The Wyoming morning was dry and hot. Dust lifted in soft clouds around Clara's worn shoes as she walked the long road toward Ironwood Ranch. She had walked 5 miles alone, every step heavy with fear and hope mixed together. She prayed no one would stop her. All she wanted was to reach the ranch, teach the children, and keep her head down. She needed this job to survive. She needed peace. But peace had been far away for a long time. When she stepped onto the wide wooden porch, her hands began to shake. She reached for the heavy door knocker, but before she could touch it, the door swung open. Silas Barrett stood there. He filled the doorway like a mountain carved from the land itself. His shoulders were broad, his flannel shirt darkened by honest work. His presence felt solid, unmoving, like nothing could push past him. He was a man people respected, and a man people feared when they had reason to. His cold, steady eyes landed on Clara's face. She tried to turn away. It was too late. His jaw tightened. His chest rose with a slow, dangerous breath. "Look at me, Clara," he said. His voice was not loud, but it reached deep inside her. It was the kind of voice that could calm a wild horse or stop a man in his tracks. Clara lifted her chin. Shame burned in her eyes. She wanted to disappear, to melt into the porch beneath her feet. Silas looked at her like he could see straight through every lie she had been forcing herself to believe. "Who did this to you?" he asked. The words were quiet, but they carried more force than a shout. The air around them went still. Clara opened her mouth, reaching for the lie she had practiced in her mind. "It was an accident, Mr. Barrett. I tripped on the boardwalk. It's silly. I shouldn't." "No." Silas stepped forward. His boots thudded against the wood, the sound sharp and final. "That isn't from tripping. Those are finger marks. Someone grabbed your face." His eyes sharpened like a hunter spotting danger. Clara's breath caught. He knew. There was no hiding now. Tears gathered as she lowered her head. Saying the name felt like swallowing fire. "It was Elias," she whispered. "He wouldn't accept that I ended the courting." Silas said nothing at first. The silence stretched, heavy and dark. His fists curled at his sides. Something dangerous moved behind his eyes. "How long has this been going on?" he asked. 3 months since I ended it," Clara said softly. "But the violence started 2 weeks ago." "Did you go to the sheriff?" She shook her head. "Elias is powerful. He said no one would believe a schoolteacher over him." Silas's jaw clenched. For a moment, he looked like a man ready to ride straight into town and settle things himself. Before he could speak again, small boots pattered on the stairs inside. Miss Clara. Caleb and Rose, Silas's 8-year-old twins, came running down with bright smiles. Rose stopped short when she saw Clara's cheek. "Miss Clara, you got a hurt?" she asked gently. Clara froze, but Silas moved at once. He stepped in front of her, blocking their view. "Miss Clara had a small accident," he said calmly. "She's all right. Go set up your slates." The children obeyed, though they looked worried. When they were gone, Silas turned back to Clara. His eyes were darker now, filled with something fierce and protective. "My study. 1 hour," he said. "We're going to talk about this." Clara nodded. For the next hour, she tried to teach the children, but her hands shook so badly she could barely hold the chalk. When the clock chimed, Hattie came to take over. Clara walked down the hall on trembling legs and entered the study. Silas stood by the window. The mountains stretched behind him. "Sit," he said softly. She obeyed. "I've already sent 2 men to town," he said. "From now on, you don't leave this ranch alone. You ride with a guard. If you need anything, you tell me or Hattie." She shook her head. "Mr. Barrett, I can't ask you to do this." "You didn't ask," he said, stepping closer. He crouched in front of her so they were eye level. "You take care of my children. I don't let people who matter to me get hurt." His words washed over her like warmth. For months she had felt small and alone. Now, for the first time, she felt seen. Safe. Outside, the wind moved across the plains, and somewhere deep inside Silas Barrett, a vow had already been made. Clara awoke the next morning with a strange mix of peace and worry twisting in her chest. Peace, because she had slept through the night for the first time in weeks. Worry, because Silas Barrett had taken her pain into his own hands, and that was a heavy weight for any man to carry. But when she stepped out onto the porch and saw him already awake, checking the fence line with calm purpose, she knew he carried that weight like it belonged to him. The ranch felt different that day, quieter but also stronger. Two of Silas's most trusted hands, Dutch and Red, rode the property line from sunrise to sunset. Their horses moved slow and steady, rifles resting easy but ready. It was not loud or cruel. It was a warning without words. Clara noticed everything. Dutch tipped his hat when he passed her near the barn. Red gave a small nod, his eyes kind but watchful. They were there because Silas had promised. She taught the twins in the front room as usual. Caleb struggled with his numbers. Rose practiced her letters with careful focus. Life tried to move forward like nothing was wrong, but every so often, Clara would feel it, that quiet weight of Silas's presence. She would look up and find him standing in the doorway, hat in his hands, pretending to check the stove or the wood pile. He was watching her, making sure she was safe, making sure the bruise was fading, making sure fear was not eating her alive. Her heart began to beat faster around him, and she did not know what to do with that feeling. The twins noticed. Children always did. "Pa," Caleb asked one afternoon, squinting up from his book, "how come you ain't with the herd today?" Silas cleared his throat. "A man ought to know what his kids are learning," he said, but his eyes slid toward Clara and her cheeks warmed. The quiet did not last. That Thursday afternoon, Clara stood in the kitchen with Hattie, slicing apples for pie. The room smelled warm and sweet. For a moment she almost felt normal. Then the sound of hooves tore through the calm. Fast, hard, angry. A man shouted from the yard, "Clara, I know you're in there." Her blood ran cold. It was not Elias, but it was close enough. Jargo, one of his hired men. A brute who did what Elias did not want to dirty his hands with. Hattie stepped back from the window, her face pale. "Mr. Thorne wants a word," Jargo shouted. "Come out now." Clara's hand shook so badly the knife nearly slipped. Panic rose fast and sharp. Not here, not now, not after she had finally felt safe. Before fear could take her fully, a large hand slammed the window shut. Clara gasped. Silas. He stood between her and the yard, his chest rising with controlled fury. "Is that his man?" he asked. Clara nodded. Silas did not hesitate. He strode to the back door, threw it open, and stepped outside. His boots hit the porch like thunder. "Who rides on my land?" he called. Jargo shifted in his saddle. "I'm here for the girl. Mr. Thorne says she needs to come back with me." Silas walked down the steps slow and steady. "You can tell Elias Thorne that Clara is under ironwood protection now." Jargo sneered. "Thorne says she belongs to him." The air snapped. Silas stepped closer, his voice dropping cold and deadly. "You tell Thorne that if he or any of his men sends so much as a shadow across her path again, he will be dealing with me, not the law, me." Jargo's courage broke. He yanked the reins and rode off in a cloud of dust. Silas came back inside. "He won't bother you again today," he said. That was all Clara could take. The fear she had carried for weeks crashed over her. Her body shook. A sob escaped before she could stop it. Silas crossed the room in 2 strides and wrapped his arms around her. Strong, steady, safe. Clara buried her face in his chest, gripping his shirt like it was the only solid thing left in the world. "You're safe," he murmured. "I promise you." For the first time, she believed a man's promise. But somewhere beyond the ironwood fence, Elias Thorne was watching, and he was not finished yet. Night settled over Ironwood Ranch like a heavy blanket. The house grew quiet. The twins slept soundly upstairs, their soft breathing steady and calm. Clara believed the worst had passed. She believed Silas's warning would keep Elias away. She believed the walls of the ranch were strong enough to hold back the darkness. She was wrong. Clara was heading upstairs after checking on Caleb and Rose one last time. Her hair was loose down her back, her steps slow and careful. For the first time in weeks, peace brushed against her heart. Then she heard it. Boots on the porch, loud voices, a crash against the door. "Get your hands off me," a man shouted. "I have a right." Clara's heart stopped. She knew that voice. She would know it anywhere. Elias. She rushed to the top of the stairs, gripping the banister so hard her fingers hurt. The front door was wide open. Dutch and Red were forcing a wild, drunken Elias backward into the night. His clothes were dirty, his hair wild, his eyes burning with rage. Silas stood a few steps away. He was still and solid, like a storm held tight. "You think you can hide her from me?" Elias shouted. "She belongs to me." Silas stepped forward slowly. "Clara was never yours," he said. "And if you don't leave this land right now, you will learn what happens when a man threatens someone under my roof." The words struck Clara's chest like fire. Someone under my roof. Someone he claimed. Someone he would fight for. Elias spotted her on the stairs. A sick smile twisted his mouth. "This isn't over," he screamed. "You belong to me." Dutch and Red dragged him off the porch as he kicked and cursed. The door slammed shut. The noise cut off like a blade. Clara's knees gave out. Silas was already moving. He took the stairs 2 at a time and caught her before she fell, his arms wrapped around her, firm and steady. She pressed her face into his chest, shaking. "I've got you," he said softly. "Breathe." He guided her to his private library. The fire was low and warm. He wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and sat beside her, close enough that she felt his strength beside her. "That man is dangerous," he said, "but I will make sure he never comes near you again." She swallowed hard. "Why are you doing this for me?" He looked at her for a long moment. "You are not just the governess," he said. "You brought life back into this house. You matter to me." Before she could answer, Hattie appeared. "Sheriff Miller is here." The night stretched long and hard. Clara told the sheriff everything, every bruise, every threat, every fear. Silas never left her side. By dawn, Elias Thorne was in a cell, his power broken. Weeks passed. Peace returned to Ironwood, like sunlight after a storm. Clara walked freely again. The bruise faded. Laughter returned to the house. Silas seemed lighter too, like protecting her had awakened something deep inside him. Then one crisp evening Silas asked her to supper on the veranda. Lanterns glowed warm above them. He wore a clean suit. His hands shook. "Clara," he said, standing, "when you came here, you needed safety. I promised to protect you, but I want more than that." He dropped to one knee and opened a small velvet box. "I want a life with you," he said. "Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down her face. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes." They married beneath golden autumn leaves. Clara felt something she had never known. She felt home. She felt safe. And Silas Barrett kept his vow.